Dougie's here. Here you go, Tom. Okay, call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody here today. And let's get on with the business of West Grey. This is a special council meeting. Our normal council meeting will be on next Tuesday, but there's one issue certainly for today of what we are going to address, and only one issue on the agenda. Before we begin, could everybody rise and we'll take a moment of reflection at your choice. Thank you. Okay. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest from any of the members of the council? Seeing none, it can be declared at any time if it does arise. Presentations. I think it's 4.1. Thank you for council and thank you for the community today for coming out. I have a verbal update of where we're at with the Durham Hospital closure. As I think most people are aware, and certainly council, as you're aware, last Wednesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we had a Zoom call. Acting CEO, Ms. Mighton, and myself, I believe the police chief was on there, and a few other individuals from West Grey, put on by the South Bruce Grey Health Coalition, Hospital Coalition Association. In the last week, I've heard 7 and 8 different names of what they've been called. The administration out of Walkerton that looks after the 4 hospitals within the consortium. The mayor of Brockton and the mayor of Aaron Eldersley, Chesley, was also on. Ken Craig, the mayor of Kincardine, was absent from it. But there was 3 mayors, a number of individuals from the communities. And at that time it was announced, the announcement was that the 10 beds in the Durham Hospital would be transitioning, was the word, out of the Durham Hospital. The corporation has decided that to maintain those, that they didn't have the staffing in the Durham facility to keep the Emerge open and the 10 beds. So until they can get that resolved, they were transitioning the 10 beds, 5 to Walkerton, 5 to Kincardine. The 5 beds, thought that maybe 5 would go to Chesley. That would be certainly more for the community of West Grey, closer than it would be, but Chesley was determined that they don't have room to put the beds in. That was the gist of what it was. And this comes 45 days, give or take, after we had a phone call, Carrie, as well too, that our emergency care would be closing for at least 12 hours a day. But it would be, the good news was that they, to do this and to address the staffing issues, that the hospital would have emerged from 7 until 7. Well, not necessarily, 7 until 5. And if there was anybody that was able to get in after 5, before 5, they would certainly be looked after, and Emerge would stay open to look after those patients until 7. So 10 hours, 7 days a week. Chesley at that point was also stated that theirs would be open 12 hours a day, same thing, 7 to 5, but only 5 days a week. 45 days later, here we are with the beds transitioning out, that they don't have, from their perspective, don't have the staff in Durham to keep the Durham Hospital open. It's been a busy 5 days, Madam CEO, back and forth of what we're doing, trying to answer the community's outrage at this. So I asked for the council meeting today of where and how council is going to be involved in maintaining the health care that is expected. Is that a call from the Premier there, Madam New? Telling us good news? Sorry, Joyce. Of maintaining the quality of health care, not that we deserve, we certainly do deserve it, but what healthcare should look like in rural Ontario, and to fulfill that promise and or regulations that comes from the Ministry of Health. 6-8 months ago, something very similar to this happened in Minden, and the Minden Hospital, between Minden and Haliburton, Minden closed, and everything went to Haliburton in that. What I am looking for council today is how do we address this issue for our residents, and not just necessarily the residents of West Grey, but I think this has more far-reaching issues within the healthcare system of Grey and Bruce. We know since the Emerge has closed in Chesley, and the amount of closures that's been in Durham, and some in Walkerton, Hanover hospital is overrun. So the idea that closing an Emerge will help out the situation has only put a burden on our neighbor, where a number of West Grey residents do seek health care. My focus is to not let this hospital close. One statement that I've put out there verbally has been told the CEO and president of the South Bruce Grey Association that to keep her hands off of the Durham Hospital, and I'll promise to keep my hands off of your throat. I think that we haven't been given much time. We've done a fair bit of research here. I do know that there is a public group that has started. Interestingly, been in contact with them. They've had a couple of meetings. When the Emerge closed, the small group that got together to see what we could do with this, in conjunction, as Chesley has gone through this problem a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. One of the lead ladies there has been in contact with us and helped us start it up. It was about keeping the Emerge open for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And 45 days later, here we are with how do we keep our hospital even open? So it's elevated and escalated considerably. Council, that's where we're at this present moment. I've met with the chair of the board, and it was seems to be a decision from the board that they endorse the options that the CEO, president, putting forward to them, and they seem to be standing pat as of June 3rd. They'll be trying to transition this bid. I would, and with that, I'm going to ask, is there any questions from members? I'm going to start with Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Thanks, Mayor. Have you or have we sought legal advice? And is there anything we can do to stop this imminent, while we negotiate and lobby and try to persuade the powers that be? On a, and I guess as mayor, yes, I have spoken to
some, and the Hospital Foundation is actively involved in this as well too. They have legal representation that's looking at options and have engaged in conversation with a legal entity to find out what our options legally may be. At this point, and that's why this council meeting, I'm not going to say that we're going to go off and I'm going off. I need the endorsement, certainly appreciate the endorsement of council of, as a council perspective, municipality getting that legal action and working forward as well too, whether it's an injunction and or another one that's out there that's come up, just what is the options for the Durham Hospital to de-amalgamate. The CEO, president, chief administrator had no idea and said you had to seek legal options there. So on a basically a pro bono basis, I do have an individual lawyer that is looking at those options, but going any further than that, I think that that's one of the directions we'll have to take or look at as far as council goes here today. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Tom?
Mayor Echols, my understanding is that yes, the management or the board endorsed it, but I heard firsthand that the MOH is supporting it. So do we advocate towards that? Because it doesn't sound like it's a true endorsement. And what is our avenue to get there to at least get them aware of some of our findings before all this legal? Question one. And number two is, legally, if council can get involved with this to some degree, how do we support the community by endorsing or supporting some of the legal wages or fees that will come with this to fight? So it's a budget item we don't have, but I'd like to know, maybe the clerk could answer, how's that work? Do we know if we can get involved with that?
I'm going to look at Kerry. I know in our budget we do have some legal. How that would be, I think it's at the discretion of council, what legally we need to get involved with, but I'm going to look towards Madam CEO.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, you do have general legal line items within our budget for various things that may occur throughout the year. It's not a substantial amount by any means, but there is some legal funds that we do budget for each year, just as things come up.
I'm going to say Joseph Island, just east of Sault Ste. Marie, went through something of this very same nature 4 or 5 years ago. There's 4 municipalities there on the island and a hospital, and those 4 municipalities all joined in on the fight. I haven't been able to contact that information I just found out this morning. I haven't been able to contact the mayor up there to see how they de-amalgamated with the Sault Ste. Marie Hospital. It seemed to be the same type of thing there. The bigger hospital, was squeezing to get rid of the hospital in St. Joseph Island, and so they de-amalgamated and went with the North Shore, Thessalon Blind River, I think it is. And they were able to do that and keep their hospital open and going forward. One of the other legal actions going forward. Oh. Okay. Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up. So obviously, so we haven't really had any contact with the MOH, if you will, on kind of what can we do or what's the direction? Like, they've supported it. Doesn't mean they endorsed it, but it is a governing body and they should be responding and give us some different avenues. Just simple advice for starter, I guess.
I guess the simple advice that I've had from contact with some of the ministry contacts that I have is Ministry of Health. Yep, we'll back what the Ford government at this point in time has been. These need to be local decisions, and we're not going to interfere with it. We'll, as you said, support it. That's what's come out of the Ministry of Health. What also, though, has come out of the Ministry of Health is de-amalgamation is possible, but that would be under a minister's order. It hasn't got much to do with, that was the ministry's understanding, hasn't got anything to do with South Bruce Grey. If a hospital body wants to move away, there's a process, but it will come from MOH approval of that. If we wanted to have Durham Hospital go and stand on its own, and or use, we're in the NHL playoffs, so use that as we're going to get traded. We indicate where we're going to go and play, and which team we're going to join. We can de-amalgamate and join a team. Be quite blunt, I don't think that the MOH would support a hospital 10 beds the size of Durham in this juncture to stand alone. Yes, your comments about the Leafs will be left unbiased. We're not going to talk about them. They may be looking for some place to play golf by tomorrow. Now, Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you've had conversations with the chair of the board for the hospital. Have they offered to sit down with us, like to explain their rationale behind why they're doing this? I mean, you look at the vast investment that Grey County is currently putting into Durham with the new Rockwood Terrace, with the ambulance building. There's been great growth within the community in the past couple of years. Do they have blinders on and are not seeing what's going on and the growth and the investment that's being done here? And as another thing with these boards that can affect municipalities like ours so much, maybe in the future, these type of boards should have municipal representation on them, so that we've got somebody on them fighting for our community and makes our community aware when these types of conversations are happening behind closed doors.
That last statement was the biggest portion of it there, behind closed doors. Yes, I've had conversations with the chair of the South Bruce Grey, a gentleman by the name of Jim Bagshaw. They apparently had 4 options in front of them, and they thought that this was the best option, the most practical, to be able to maintain urgent emergency care in the Durham area community. The supply, I haven't found that explanation for that statement. It's not one that is used in healthcare. It's either emergent care, it's urgent care, but urgent emergency care doesn't seem to. So we've had that debate of what they're meaning by that. But the options that they looked at were all done in closed session and are not privy to. The rationale that they went into closed session, or that those were enclosed, and how they're going to explain or rationalize that this is the best option is just that. This is our best option, and this is how we're going to move forward and continue to have healthcare services supplied at all 4 sites. I don't know what that means. McMahon, CEO, was on the call as well too, and we both looked at it and said, what does that mean? You're closing the hospital, and so I guess what it means, the rationale you can take out of that is we must be a very healthy community because we don't need a hospital to look after us, and or we're not worried about that. And it seems to be the push is to keep the Walkerton and Kincardine. I would be hesitant to start them or us. Because I really think they need to be. This is a fight for something bigger, going to be bigger than just Durham. Because if this was impossible to think about Durham closing, who's next? And delivering that service, they're not doing it there, so where's the next one going to come? So no, I haven't got anything other than this was management put this forward and we endorsed. Yeah, we voted on it and endorsed it and move on. How do we go about it? And I think obviously it's got to be done above, in my mind, our determination here is, where do we take the fight to? And how quickly do we get it there? Further, go ahead, Doug, and then I'll go to Councillor Hutchison.
Just another along that line, should this ever play out and happen, how do they plan on compensating Durham and the residents for the millions of dollars that have been funded through the foundation and through private donations, through people's volunteer hours to build the hospital, make the hospital work, and make the hospital grow as it has? They just feel that it's their stuff now to take and move to the next hospital down the road, and we get left with nothing? Or are they looking at the financial implications of the decision they've made? Because it not only affects the hospital, it affects our ability in the community to sell homes, build homes. People have a checklist when they're moving into an area of what they're looking for, and this is one of the key components that we need. I sit on the board of Abbeyfield Seniors Residence in Durham. Are we going to have trouble renting rooms out now? Because those families of the seniors, that was always one of our things. We had a hospital 5 minutes away, and now it's not. So just, are they looking at the financial ramifications of this and how they're going to play that out?
I certainly can't speak for what thoughts are going through their mind. But the thought that's going through my mind after having conversations with the CEO, the chair of the board, the answer is no, they haven't thought that at all. I believe that they are under the delusional impression that, everything that's in the Durham Hospital is owned by the South Bruce Grey, and just because it was donated and raised in Durham to be able to supply health services to the Durham residents that put it there, we'll move it to Walkerton or we'll move it to Kincardine, and you figure out how you can get there over there to Kincardine to use it. Vast difference on what the Ministry of Health is, the healthy, health services within the community. It's been promoted since the Ford government got elected a number of years ago, that this is what it is. We're going to have health service in your community, so you can have that close to, which you may be familiar with, in your home or in your home community, because people really get better when they have family around them as support than to take a 92-year-old individual from Rockwood Terrace. And there's nothing left in Durham. 25% more population supposedly if Rockwood, I don't know what effect this will have in Rockwood, but that 92-year-old person, at 2 o'clock in the morning, let's bounce them all the way to Kincardine to there, because that's probably where an acute care bed is for them after they have rolled over, which does happen, and broken a hip, and they need hospital, they need that acute care. Let's bounce them across, Obviously, our ambulance drivers are doing the best they can, but I don't know, I'm not sure I want to put them into that in the middle of February on Highway 9. Might have, doesn't have as bad as Highway 21, but it does have a reputation of being closed most days in February, January, going forward. Councillor Hutchison, does you have a comment?
Yeah, so I was as shocked as most people in this room was when this announcement came, and it raises a lot of questions, and some of the questions have been somewhat answered here as we talk. But I am a little surprised that we haven't heard from the powers that be. You mentioned the Ministry of Health, that we hadn't received some kind of indication previous to this decision being made. But if it's a local decision, I guess it's a local decision. I'm curious where the county is in all this, because as we've spoke about the things that are happening in Durham regarding the county, like the expansion of long-term care in Rockwood and putting in a new ambulance station. And then all of a sudden you don't have a hospital that can be a place where the ambulance can take patients to within 5 minutes rather than going 20 or 30 minutes down the road. So I'm curious where the county is on this. I'm hoping that they're behind us as we move forward and trying to do something, trying to solve this issue. But as most people in this room know, that a few years ago, this community went through the same thing, trying to save their hospital. And it was public rally, public pressure that made that happen. So we kept the hospital. So I'm thinking that that's where we have to go again. I think as people have already said, there's a public forum coming up next week. And I think public pressure is the way we need to go. Council, I think council would be on board trying to help whatever way we can, but I think it needs to come from the community. And I think the local South Bruce Grey board needs to hear it. And I'm sure they will. So I think that's my thoughts on that. I was surprised in the time frame, and the worry I have is when you start talking moving beds. Sure, there's a shortage of staff, but when you start moving beds, that seems a little more permanent to me. That's one thing to be short of staff and try to resolve that issue, but when you start taking beds away, that looks a little suspicious to me. So yeah, I think we have a real problem on our hands, and I think we need to work together to solve it. Thank you.
Your question brought that forward last Thursday at County Council to the county, and certainly Rockwood Terrace is right at the forefront on the redevelopment of Rockwood. One thing that shocked on the Wednesday announcement when I was able to ask a question, how have you connected with any of the stakeholders in this? Oh, we've talked to all of them. Oh, so Rockwood Terrace and being rebuilt to 128. Oh, it's going to, the response I got, oh, it's going to be 128 beds new? We thought it was just a redevelopment. Well, if you talked, probably anybody would tell you. But anyways, just as a side note, the tender was approved and it's been sent off to the Ministry of Health. They've got to have their sign off on that. Was approved on Thursday at County Council. So the second question I asked was, so what's going to happen with the EMS station here? Oh, well, it's at, it'll still be able to stay at the hospital. County 2 months ago put forward that the new EMS station, there's going to be a new EMS station here in Durham on the county's vision of rebuilding EMS stations. And it's going to be close by the property on the curve here across from the Country Corner restaurant. The new police station is going on. They were oblivious, like it was just oblivious. So quite, you can draw the conclusion from that. No, none of the stakeholders were ever mentioned in this. Had they mentioned the stakeholders, it would have got out there. So no, it's been kept very close. Has the county on, what's today, Tuesday, yesterday, released a letter and, blindsided. Grey County decrees Durham Hospital bed removal. And that is, where the county is. They put out a letter on social media and it's been picked up and sourced around. The county is gravely concerned with this and is behind the municipality of West Gray on this, and the residents of West Gray saying, no, you cannot close that hospital. We're putting $3 million into an emergency. Is this right place if you don't have it? You know, you're not going to have the hospital here. We're building this because the hospital is here, and this were emergency. You know, you didn't bother talking to us on this, so no, they haven't talked to anybody. It was a very, I think as Councillor Townsend has said, very closed, no, and a very thought out process of what they're going to do. This wasn't a reaction to emergency. In my mind, this has been planned. A very old system that used to be, I think the last time I saw something like this politically was, and to put it out there, Mike Harris years when education was being gutted and tore. The education minister on a hot mic said, well, we'll just create a crisis, then we can handle it. And this is what we have here. I really believe that the staffing issue at the hospital has been created. There's been a lot of creation of angst and a toxic, you know, I've heard that word used, that it's a toxic work environment there. I don't think it has anything to do, in my mind, it has nothing to do with anything internal. It's been created, that is driven and hasn't allowed and has not allowed new nurses to come in and work here, to be able to fit the narrative that is looked at. And I think it is definitely time to get a hold of the ministry and say, this Limburger cheese, it smells very terrible. Anything else? Tom, please, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So I guess I'm struggling where we're going to find this answer, but they are funded by public funds, which is taxpayers' dollars throughout this province. That's how healthcare works. Obviously, we're all well aware of that. So who monitors this organization for their accountability, their transparency? Because I think the truth is sitting obviously amongst this community, as we're well aware, and the more things that come forward, the more the knowledge that we gain. That's, you know, basically there's one side of the story that everybody's hearing, and it seems to be that side, but the truth is really here before us. So I think there's an accountability, a transparency model that needs to be brought forward. And I think that needs to be addressed first and foremost, because I don't think everything's there. The only other thing I did not get an answer to is how do we get involved with legal ourselves? I know Carrie's answer, thank you, Madam Treasurer, for that answer, but are we going to be able to retain, do we lead that ourselves or work in conjunction with the community? I don't understand that part.
I would think that, yes, we've got to lead this. We've got the ability to do that. And I think it would behoove certainly our community that we represent and whatnot, that we keep the pressure, that we can put the pressure on the province to deliver on, make their deliverables. And this is one of those cases when I ran 2 years ago or a year and a half ago now, was one of the standpoints is force the province, you know, whatever means it takes to do their responsibility. And it's our responsibility to hold them accountable. Who holds the South Bruce Grey? I believe it's the Ontario West Health that you know is the reforming recreation of the LHIN. And that's where I understand, at least that's where the money flows through. So it's always, the comment's always been follow the money. Well, that's where it comes from, is that the Ministry of Health has those allocations and they're flowed out through the Ontario West Health. So it would be them that I would, from what I understand. Go ahead.
Thank you for that response. So just so clear, because there's a lot of different angles out there in the community, and lots of different people looking at different things. So, I don't think there needs to be, this organization looking at the retaining, we're looking at it several other things. We need to come together and get that clarity around, that West Gray, the municipality itself, we can take the lead of that and bring in their information. That's, I think, what we should be doing. Because I think there's going to be so many lawyers involved, which we don't need all those. We really need to focus on one and bring all that synergy together. And that's one of the things. So, if we can get that communication out, however that's going to arrive to the community even by next Tuesday, I think that would help. And then just some follow up on that, whoever we can reach out to. Again, I'd like to know some full disclosure on the accountability for the public funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple quick points on the legal end. From what I've read and researched on the Minden closure, they looked at an injunction also, and they were unsuccessful, or they were told they would be unsuccessful, so they didn't pursue it. So hopefully we would have more luck with that. And something that Councillor Hutchinson said that just twigged me here. And you can maybe have this conversation with their CIO if you get a chance. They're backing their decision on the fact that they're short-staffed and they need to reduce a hospital. But the thing is, they're still going to have the same amount of beds. If you don't have the right amount of people or staff, it would make more sense to close the 10 beds than it would be to move the 10 beds. You're still going to need the same amount of staff, whether those beds are in Durham or in Walkerton and Kincardine. So it's not a staffing issue. It's a shell game that they're playing, my opinion.
There's a lot of things that are behind the curtains here. And people have told me I've got long arms, but I can't quite get to that curtain yet. We're certainly working on it. Haven't had time to pull back the curtain and see who the puppet keeper is that's pulling the strings. In the conversation with the CEO when we made the announcement last Wednesday, after about 40 minutes, got around that her exact quoted comment was, "Now, Mr. Mayor, I know it's an emotional issue and you're getting kind of upset here with me." Yeah, kind of. But don't take it out on me. I'm just the messenger. I said, well, the messenger usually gets shot, so just be sure what you're saying to me there. I'm just the messenger. So my question was, okay, whose message are you delivering? Whose message are you delivering? And at that point it was, we've been at this. We had a half an hour scheduled. I've been at these all day talking we're into this 45 minutes. I'm very respectful of your time. I've got to go. And she left the meeting. So I'm still, as I said, reaching, and I can see the chief nodding. Yeah, that's who's pulling the strings. It's further up the chain than her. Councillor Noon.
Well, thank you, Mayor Eccles. Yeah, I concur with what Councillor Townsend had said about the staff shortages. If they're going to take away the beds from Durham and allocate it to Walkerton and Kincardine, the burden's there then, because there's not the staffing. So to me, I don't know why they wouldn't even have factored of closing 5 beds and keeping 5. Let's keep our hospital here. It's adamant with growth, economic needs in our community. We need to keep the hospital here. Thank you.
Exactly right, Joyce. And that's what we're here. Where do we get to the fight? And I'm getting the feeling that the council wants to fight. Let's get the resources together. But council only acts under motions, is it, Mr. Clerk, Madam CEO? Not going to run off and do anything. So I think we've got to start putting, but staff needs a motion and direction from council as a whole here to sign the contract, as the boxers would say, to have the fight. And I'm very much willing to, and as I said to somebody today, I'm kind of looking forward to having a fight with the MOH. Councillor Hutchison, Doug?
Before we get into the most part, just what's the chances that we would be able to get South Bruce Gray Association to come in and talk to council to tell us, give us the details, give us the facts? Like, I mean, it's one thing to say this is what we're doing, but what's the reason that you're doing it? Where are the facts? And, you know, staff shortages, okay, fine, show us staff shortages. Hospital beds, show us why it's important to move the beds. So I don't know whether they would do it, but I mean, I think it's worth an invite to say, we would like for you to come and talk to us.
I think that would be fine. What I've found over the last 5 days is actual evidence coming out of that organization over there. Wow. I'm not sure that it exists, or somebody should read to them what the definition of a fact, true fact is. You know, I think Councillor Townsend asked the question there a few minutes ago about what is the truth and where do we find it? And does the board know? I think there was a movie out there, The Truth. They haven't seen it, and I'm not sure that they can handle the truth, according to Jack Nicholson. Doug, go ahead.
So I think it's important to at least put that invite out there, because before we start going down this road, I think it's important that we've reached out to them and said, okay, we see what you're trying to do here. Tell us, give us the details, give us the facts. Because if we don't do that, then somewhere down the road, they're going to say, well, you guys never came and talked to us. You never came and asked us to present anything or give us our side of the story. So we're saying, come to us, give us the details, give us the facts. And if they choose not to, then fine. Then we have that in our back pocket going forward.
Somewhat, certainly, no, not somewhat. I do agree with you, Councillor Hutchison, on that. But the problem is in that, if we don't have something in place by June 3rd, if they can delay, oh yes, we'll come to you. When's your first meeting in June? We'll be there. I think that's what's going to be played here. We can put it out, and quite obviously, if that's played, then you know what the trick is here. We've got to go forward with the fight. I agree with you. We'll put it, you know, I think that's a good idea to put it out there, but I wouldn't expect anything from it. And we certainly can't wait to start the fight, you know, until after we hear from them. Because, you know, as the old saying goes, once the horse is out, once the jack is out of the box, try and put him back in. Well, the beds are gone, the beds are gone. It's not a hospital anymore. And if that emerged, from what I understand, if the emerge was to close, that blue sign goes off. And once the blue sign's gone, you can't put it back in the box. Tom. Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Eccles. Two things, just in response for you to Councillor Hutchinson. I don't think we owe them anything. They certainly did engage with us. So, you know, this is we're going to drive our own direction on this one, and they're going to have to be accountable. That's my feeling on it. The other thing is, the biggest shock to everybody, and it doesn't appear to be a shock in this community, there isn't a staffing shortage in our community. We don't have that problem. So that's what's got to come out of this. That's the other part there. And I would be prepared to put a motion forward if once this is completed, or if we're ready to go. And unless I would certainly hold back until somebody wants to say any of their comments, but I would put a motion forward that direct staff to engage with search or find some of the best legal advice we could to kind of spearhead this for the community. And obviously, I'm sure we have some local lawyers that we can ask for who would be best representation for this. Maybe that the West Gray supports that, but I'm sure our clerk probably has much better wording for this, and we'll go from there.
I'm gonna say, I don't think you've moved that yet. Suggestion that you may, there might be a step before that, and I'm gonna look to Mr. Townsend. Doug? Second this one.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that in consideration of a verbal presentation from Mayor Eccles respecting Durham Hospital closure, council directs the mayor to send a letter on behalf of council to South Bruce Gray Health Center Board to state the importance of the Durham Hospital and urging South Bruce Gray Hospital Board to reconsider its decision to transfer acute inpatient beds out of Durham Hospital, and further, that this letter be circulated to the Ontario Central Local Hospital Coalition, Grey Bruce Region, Bruce Gray Owen Sound MPP Rick Byers, Huron Bruce MPP Lisa Thompson, Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health, Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the County of Grey, the County of Bruce, and all Grey and Bruce County municipalities.
I can second that if you're looking for a second.
Yes, thank you. Going through the process, I think this is where we need to start. I think we'll be probably looking for another motion after this one, but this is where we start on the fight. Don't enter the ring until you hear the bell. So, process of walking up the steps. Any comments or questions? You seconded that? Yes, sir. Yep. Okay, Deputy Mayor would second that motion. Any questions, comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good, nobody's voting twice. It was unanimous. I think that's the first step in this. And I like that. Councillor Shea.
Should we allocate municipal resources to this fight once the bell has rung? I'm thinking of allocating staff time and legal budget.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want that motion now?
Yes.
I'd make that motion, Jamie. Phrase it for me.
That's why we, yeah,
Do you,
I look to the right of me for, yeah, getting that wording correct.
do you need an actual dollar figure for legal?
I don't believe at this point in time, no,
Okay,
no.
the Director of Finance says no, okay.
So I think the last one I kind of was putting a motion for crafting, and I did ask the clerk for
Sorry, go ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
I can hear
well, I was
John.
letting
Yeah.
you finish that. No problem. It's all good. I was putting a motion forward there, and then I know, we kind of tabled it or whatever, but it didn't go any further to take Councillor Townsend, but so that never got completed. That's where I was asking for the clerk to do that, but now there's another motion, so that one you didn't call for a second, or I was trying to move that, but I just want for clarity. I will certainly endorse that, but I was trying to put that forward. Thank you.
You have something there, Mr. Clerk? We'll gather this.
Through your miracles, I have that in consideration of a verbal presentation for miracles respecting Durham Hospital closure. Council directs staff to obtain legal advice on the potential closure of the Durham Hospital.
Somebody want to second that? Because I think Councillor Shea, that would cover what you were going for. Tom, you'll second that? Yes, sir. Yep. Okay. Any comments or questions on that? You read that one again, Jamie?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That in consideration of verbal presentation from Mayor Eccles respecting Durham Hospital closure, council directs staff to obtain legal advice on the potential closure of the Durham Hospital.
So, yeah, because of our strict timeline, I think to seek advice, it's one thing, but we don't get the advice for 3 weeks. Our window of opportunity, if we, whether you want to use those words, injunction, whatever words you want to use, it seems like we need a quicker action on this. Just don't want to see like what gives our deadline, that's all. And I just want to know how we get around that. If they did find somebody that, yes, we think we could do it, there need to be more to that motion that they are authorized to move forward, or we give you authorization through with staff to do that.
So you're looking for, you're looking to put forward an amendment that, and all other actions to maintain the Durham Hospital as an open and functioning hospital in Durham. That be your amendment?
Through you to the clerk, I think those are his words to you. I think I like that, but yes, I just want to see that there's it's one thing to get that, but there's no true action to it, and we need to expedite everything that's happened before us because of the deadline. So yes, that's a good amendment. Thank you very much.
I think Mr. Hutchison, Deputy Mayor, just put forward an amendment. Did you catch that one? Mr. Clerk?
So through you, Mayor Eccles, I think if I understand this correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what council is looking for is the motion basically to direct staff to engage with legal counsel on options to prevent the closure or the transition of the inpatient acute care beds. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, I think is my understanding of his amendment was that, and all other actions to keep the Durham Hospital open. Seek legal advice and all other actions to keep the Durham Hospital open. Yeah. Be formal.
So the amendment would be that the main motion be amended to add and take all other actions to keep the Durham Hospital open.
I was just curious about timeline that Deputy Mayor had mentioned about time. Is it realistic? I know lawyers don't work real fast, but was it realistic to think that we might have an opinion by next council next Tuesday?
Are those two words that don't go together? Any lawyers out there or any that are on Zoom? I apologize. I think it is, certainly we'll have, whether it's an absolute or an opinion, but yes, I think that they certainly could have opinions back or some thoughts back to us. Because as I said, I've already spoken to a few lawyers that have approached me on it, and yeah, they're quite anxious to get at this. Okay. Any other questions on the amendment? Tom?
Thank you. Just, so I just want to make sure that the amendment is stating that if we do find a legal advice that looks pretty sound, whether we have to call an emergency meeting to do this, or we just give staff the authorization to tell that lawyer to proceed, whether injunction, whatever words come with it, but there's an action that's going to take place immediately upon, the feedback that comes from.
Interpretation. Jamie?
Through Mayor Eccles, based on the wording of the motion, it's my understanding that council's providing direction to staff to seek that legal advice and to take the actions and the steps necessary to proceed with it. So we wouldn't be coming back to council for permission in that case because that direction's already been provided and the authority's already been designated to staff to proceed in that fashion.
Thank you, clerk, and that's what I wanted, was just that, flow it out to the community like that. I had that good interpretation, but I want to make sure we were clear. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody, any others? Call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The amendment motion, paraphrasing, is to seek legal action and to take actions. Do you want to read it fully? Go ahead, Jamie.
So the main motion as amended is that in consideration of a verbal presentation from Mayor Eccles respecting Durham Hospital closure, council directs staff to obtain legal advice on the potential closure of the Durham Hospital and take all other actions to keep the Durham Hospital open.
Okay. Any questions on the main motion as amended? Call the question on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. Anything else on this topic that we want to? Councillor Shea, Jeff?
I assume we'll all be at the next Tuesday event, which is a community, as I understand, community initiated event. So it's not a council initiated event, but I think that we should be letting the organizers of that know that council is willing to step up and help out in ways that, in any way that we can, and we just need to be asked. If we need to be out there setting up chairs or whatever, just so that we're doing this as a coordinated effort.
Are you making the suggestion that the in this that funding the hall and whatnot, those actions as well too?
We could do that, sure, but
I think that covered, yeah, that's covered by the legal, all other actions to keep the Durham Hospital open. Yeah.
I just think we need to make this a coordinated effort, and we're willing to step up and help out in any way that we can.
Exactly, and bit of humor, levity to that, but I think in that amendment that we put forward there, Councillor Shea, all other actions, and that is a big action as well too, to show the Ministry of Health and everybody out there what this is meaning. So I think that can be taken in, and we'll coordinate that as well too. Okay. Anything else? I think that's it for the agenda. We've got one more action to take. That would be a bylaw to confirm. A confirming bylaw of the actions taken at today's meeting. Do we have a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Noon. Thank you. Any questions on the confirmation bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That is the conclusion of all the agenda items. Mr. Clerk, I shall declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the democratic process.